Again, this is Robert Craig. I'm back again, and I want to go a little bit further on that series that I started on what happens to a person when they die. I realized after I posted that last video that I've got to go back and revisit that because I didn't really cover everything. When I read that verse that told about where the spirit and the body goes, and it was verse 7, Ecclesiastes 12. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Now, I have maintained for years that I thought this verse covers the soul, or it covers the spirit and the body. But in order to find out what happens to the soul, you have to go elsewhere. I realized today how wrong I am about that. You know, there's a verse somewhere in Paul's writings that says, "Thou that teachest thou not thyself?" Well, I do. Every once in a while, I'll read something that I've read many times, and it'll finally get through. Back up here in verse 5. And we were talking about the end of a man's life as he aged to the point that his body would break down. Verse 5, and when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fears shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home. That's where the soul goes. That is how Solomon expressed the departure of the soul. He's going to his long home. Now, you have to realize the context of it and how things worked in those days. Solomon was writing this in somewhere around 900 BC. And the person that he's writing, the man who goes to the long home, he's going to a place that he's going to be for a long time. He's going to go there until that day when Christ will raise the dead and call them forth from their graves. And that's why it's the long home. We're only here for the time of our lives, the period of our lifetime, and then we go to our long home. And then the other part, the spirit and the soul, well, we covered that yesterday. The spirit and the body. The body goes back to the dust, and the spirit goes back to God. Now, I got another place I want to bring up the same thing. This is from Luke, chapter 23, and the scene is the cross of Calvary. And they have crucified Jesus. And I want to pick up right here in verse 38 of Luke 23. And a superscription also was written over him in letters of Greek and Latin and Hebrew. This is the King of the Jews. Verse 39, and one of the malefactors which were hanged railed on him, saying, If thou be Christ, save thyself and us. But the other answering rebuked him, saying, Dost not thou fear God, seeing thou art in the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due reward of our deeds. But this man hath done nothing amiss. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. I would say that took a lot of faith on his part. The three of them were hanging there on crosses, and it was obvious they're going to be there until they're dead. But he expresses a belief that the kingdom is still going to come. That is That is just really something. Verse 43, and Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. When does today end in the context of when it's spoken? When does the day end according to Jewish timekeeping? The day in their timekeeping ends at sundown and begins another day. It's in keeping with the way it was right from the start, back at the creation. And the evening and the morning were the day. That's what it takes to make up a day. The nighttime comes first, and it begins at sundown. Ask any Jew. Now, I want to bring out the fact that Jesus can only be talking about the malefactor's soul, not his body, not his spirit. We already established in Ecclesiastes 12 that when a man dies, his spirit goes back to God that gave it. You might even say it was on loan. It's what holds everything together, the soul and the body. But when that silver cord is broken and the life is over, that body is going to return to the grave, to the ground, to the earth, the dust of the earth. Verse 44, and it was about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. That is to say, from high noon to 3 p.m. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. And when Jesus had cried out with a loud voice, he said, into thy Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And having said thus, he gave up the ghost. So, as with any other man that dies, we made this point before. In order to redeem mankind, Jesus had to become a man and die as a man. And that was the reason that I said I didn't believe the angels could be redeemed, because in order for Jesus to become an angel, it looks like to me that you'd have to have 2 angels get married and have a baby, just the way it was with the people. But that's a whole nother subject. We'll come back to that maybe another time. So when he said, today you will be with me in paradise, he's not talking about the body or the spirit. He's talking about the real person, the soul. And this day ends at sundown. Well, when Jesus gave up the ghost, it was 3 p.m., the 9th hour. And the thief was already dead. So, where would they meet in paradise? Let's just say, for the sake of simplicity, they got together at Abraham's bosom. Because I don't think they went the other way. I mean, the bad part. It wouldn't be called paradise otherwise. Now we're going to go on to some other examples of how in that day and time the soul of a man who passed away went downward. The spirit went upward, the soul went downward, and the body just simply went into the earth. And this was a singular occasion here, because this body was placed in a tomb and saw no corruption, and 3 days later was raised to die no more. Because I live, you shall also live. We're going to move on to some other examples next time, and I hope you'll join me. I appreciate so much you watching. See you next time.